Villainous Heroics by I Believe in a Happily Ever After on AO3. Chapter 13. Your body moved before you could think. Huh? Shouta stared at the street below him, the image of cracked roads and dim street lights, burning into a singular color as he let the thought drift back to the other night with Mike. What am I gonna do with you, Mike? Shouta had responded to the alert of the bank robbery and had been the closest hero on patrol at the time. He had gone in expecting hostages, thugs, or villains who had been twisted by the cruelty of this world, or had given in to their own cruelty. Instead, he had slipped in and saw President Mike bleeding with a gun trained on him. The blood wasn't a priority. Mike, whether villain or vigilante, had grown used to the pain of a difficult fight. The sight of a gun being pointed at him with the finger on the trigger had been anxiety-inducing, but the expression on Mike's face, the expression of acceptance, as if he knew he was going to die and he already accepted it as fact, that had been heartbreaking. There was a second where Shouta had seen his student, a hand reaching out to crumble her down to dust. It hadn't been a reminder he needed, and it was only years of fighting and doing hero work that had him reacting on instinct, changing the path of the bullet, and sparing President Mike of death. Shouta hadn't spared him of a lecture, though, but the man had gone and said that. My body moved on its own before I could think. It was a joke amongst pro-heroes. It wasn't as well-known joke, but it wasn't a secret, either. Every good pro-hero, whether aware or not, they always managed to say the same thing. Their debut, the first time they helped someone, the moment they realized they knew what they wanted to do. It was the same phrase, said again and again, no matter the circumstances. Their bodies moved before they could think. It was the mark of a good hero. It was the mark of a good hero. One who cared more about the safety of people than the ranking or media attention. These days, being a pro-hero was akin to being a celebrity. But even then, the feeling was often the same. Shouta groaned and shoved his goggles down to rub at his eyes, fingers pausing and twisting as they touched the familiar piece of gear. Thoughts of Mike drifting up even more than before. The overwhelming absence of memories and thoughts were drowned out by one singular conclusion, though. President Mike was not, and never had been, a villain. There was no way for him to be a villain when he was too afraid of his own quirk and only used it when he was helping people. He protected children and saved teenagers he didn't even know. He broke up fights if they got too rough, and he was willing to let himself get shot to help those who he had never met before. President Mike may have called himself the voice villain, but it was clear that he was anything but. Even half the police in the area thought Mike was a vigilante. After the report he had filed for the bank robbery, half the force had asked him who the vigilante was that had been on scene. Shouta hadn't had the heart to correct their assumptions. Plus, it was going to be that much funnier when the hostages told them they were saved by another villain. The sound of tired footsteps had Shouta coming out of his thought and tucking his goggles back up, reminding himself that he was on patrol. A glance down showed a man with long blonde hair that was pulled back in a bun, grumpy expression on his face. The grumpy expression on his face was why it took so long for Shouta to realize that the man was familiar, due to the fact that this was the barista he saw at his regular coffee place. He didn't even know that the shop closed this late. Stupid fucking douchebag. I could kill him and people would thank me. Oh, Yamada, you murdered your boss. Well, yes, because he made me stay 4 hours past closing and clean and The words drifted up through the air towards him before dropping back into a bitter grumble and mumbling. Shouta felt his lip twitch in a smile. He would have to remember to try and be a touch nicer towards him in the morning, if he was there. Back-to-back closing and morning shifts weren't exactly fun, especially when he was already looking exhausted and overworked. Seeing people like this made Shouta wonder what Mike's day job was. Looking back down, Shota now saw two figures in the shadow, where the street lights didn't reach instead of one. Readying his binding cloth, Shota took a moment to assess the situation before he saw the flash of a gun. Jumping down, Shota barely landed before he was shouting loud enough to get their attention. Hey! The gun was now trained on Shota, which, good. The civilian, the same barista, with tense and had a pale face of shocked expression. Entire body drawn in tight. He seemed to be favoring his right shoulder, so it was possible he was hurt. But Shota hadn't heard a gunshot, at least. Who are you supposed to be? The man who held the gun sounded panicked and ready to pull the trigger. Shota would have been amused if there wasn't a hostage or a gun involved. I'm the guy that's gonna kick your ass. It was possible Shota took some aggression out when it came to the fight that followed, but Shota didn't have much sympathy for those who contemplated murder as being an accepted risk. Making sure the knots were tight and the police were on their way, Shota finally looked to the civilian, gaze flicking him over quickly to assess for damage. The man was rambling about how his day was full of nervous energy. He looked ready to vibrate out of his skin, and there seemed to be some sort of damage to his shoulder. You sure you're okay? Shota asked, pushing his goggles up and, finally, cutting into the ramming. He had a lot of practice with Mike, after all. Of course! He didn't even get a scratch on me! Something was not wrong, but not quite right either. Shota felt like he was a few steps off from where he should be, and it wasn't a feeling that he particularly liked. Usually he was still half asleep when talking to this man, so maybe that was it? Well, Shota sighed, turning back to keep an eye on the defeated villain. He wasn't moving much. You should at least come with me to make a report. No! That was a very strong reaction to the idea of going to the police. Maybe the other had just hated paperwork. Shota could relate to that. I mean, I'll just head home. Thanks for the help, Eraserhead. Jumpy, but he wasn't bleeding and didn't seem in any extreme pain. And if he didn't want to make a report or press charges, then Shota can let him off easily enough. Strange, though, it was very rare that a civilian knew his name, considering his status of being underground. The feelings of the wrong steps turned into that of a misstep. It was odd, but maybe Shota was just pulling too much thought into it. If Mike were there, he probably would. Shota's thoughts trailed off into silence as he felt a million little clues come completely focused in the way that had him torn between incompressible anger and utter despair. There wasn't any other way to react when he realized his barista of the past few months was Present Mike. Shota really should have seen this sooner. He was groggy with the hour or two of sleep he had managed, but he pushed himself to focus as he stared at the barista, who had a name tag he had never bothered to read before. Present Mike's family name was Yamada, and Shota was feeling more and more like an idiot by the second. Not only had Present Mike been in front of him since the very beginning of this whole mess, but he couldn't even complain about it to anyone. He could never let this realization be known. To Nomuri, especially. Hi there! You're actually pretty early this morning, Hizashi greeted. His tone an exact match for Mike's in every way possible. I couldn't sleep, so I decided to start the day early. Shota was only half aware of the words coming out of his mouth, as he did his best not to be obvious about his staring. The more he looked, the more stupid he felt. Yamada was wearing the same bulky glasses that Mike had worn all these months ago when his own glasses had been broken. Then there were the hearing aids that Shota caught glimpse of when Mike's headphones weren't on. There was that stupid mustache that should have been the dead giveaway, and all of it was tied together with the bright green eyes that were shining as if they knew him, and fuck! Present Mike had been serving him coffee this whole damn time. This was Mike and he knew exactly who Shouta was. Maybe you shouldn't be drinking coffee then. Yamada, Mike, teased. Smile fond and warm in the way that Mike never let himself really show. I wanted to thank you, by the way, for last night. It was good to have a hero around these parts. It's my job. Shouta shrugged off, trying to get over his panic and calm himself down. It wasn't working as much as he wanted it to. Well, thank you, anyways, Eraserhead. Yamada laughed. Everything about him was soft and quiet in a way that present Mike never let himself be. Shouta had thought his feelings had been bad before, but this, Jesus. Aizawa, Shouta said quietly, pleased when Yamada blinked at him in confusion. I'm off duty in the mornings, so it's Aizawa Shota. Oh. The word was a soft exhale. Yamada's eyes widened and bright, and a smile on his face that looked fragile. If Shouta hadn't known who this was before, then this moment would have given it away. Well then, it's only right you call me Yamada. Yamada Hizashi. Nice to meet you. Right. Nice to meet you. Shouta was fucked. His name was Yamada Hizashi. President Mike's name was Hizashi, which literally meant the perception of sunshine. Shouta was filled with a dawning horror as he silently realized how many times he had compared the man's smile to sunshine. Right, your order. Yamada quickly moved to get the items, passing by a teenage co-worker who was hissing something at him as he scribbled on an empty coffee cup before filling it. Shouta couldn't even be upset he only counted 2 espresso shots instead of his usual 6. Yamada bustled around the small area and looked to hiss something back at his now glaring co-worker before settling Shota's coffee and a bag of cute cat muffins on the counter. Here you go, Aizawa-san. Consider this one on the house as a thanks for last night. Oh, this man was too sweet. This man was literally sunshine, and Shouta had no idea how to deal with it. It was one thing dealing with Mike's cockiness and rapid wit, but it was another dealing with this soft and quiet barista who gave the warmest smiles. Not really. I won't take no for an answer. Yamada insisted, pushing the items closer and then closing his arms. And I could be a lot more stubborn than you can. That part I don't doubt, Shouta murmured, taking the items and half hiding behind his binding cloth as he eyed Yamada. Thank you. Of course, just don't make me say that stupid "have a lovely day" phrase. Yamada mocked, frowned, sticking his tongue out. It's so lame. The frown disappeared in favor of one of those bright smiles. Have a nice day, Aizawa-san. Shouta managed to keep himself together, as well as mumble back a response, and made it all the way back to the UA staff room. He was in complete control of himself for the entire time. The moment he sat down, though, he let his head hit the desk, cheeks squashed against the desk as he felt his cheeks redden. My, what's this, Sho-chan? Are you feeling embarrassed over something? Namuri, the other vulture, was leaning off his chair in a second. Shouta did his best to ignore her and instead look at his coffee cup, which didn't have his name written on it, instead scrawled across the cup, in looping lines. Sound does not travel when no one hears, yet you have always listened for me. From my loudest shouts to my quiet whispers, my voice had never fallen on deaf ears since you. It is any wonder I fell for you, like the last sharp note of a song, trailing off before dipping into unknown. Holy shit, are you dying? Your face just got so red. Namuri's shocked voice barely even registered. Shouta, only staring at where President Mike had written a love poem on his coffee cup. Oh God, how often had he done this? Had Shouta been throwing away cups with love notes on them this whole time? Shouta turned his head to rest his forehead against his desk, his co-worker chatting above him in a way to where it was nothing except white noise. Jeez, Shouta had never felt so blind as he did now. Blind you are, my fellow sir, but what are you gonna do about it? It's chapter 13, and clearly Aizawa is very deeply in love. Yamada is also very deeply in love. Aizawa very much knows that, you know, his barista happens to be Present Mike. So, and you get that love poem. Aizawa, what are you gonna do about it? Are we gonna get a smooch? Are we gonna get a I like you? We should date? Are we gonna get a smoochy smooch? Are we gonna get a, you know? I don't know what means. I just made the noise. Are we gonna get a little wedding bells? I would like the wedding bells, please and thank you. Oh my god, but he knows, guys, he knows. Oh my god. It took me a while to record this chapter. God damn it, I need to stop calling these things episodes. It took me a while to record this chapter because I kept having to pause so I could squeal, kick, scream, twist my legs and kick my ears. Wait, what? I was trying to make the joke of instead of like kicking my feet and twisting my... Oh, it's kicking my hair and twisting my legs. No, I don't know. I was trying to be... I don't know. Whatever. Point taken is I was like, they're so cute and adorable and I love them so much and I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna die. A lot of stimming was involved. You see my little hands that were doing the little flappy thingy? But oh my god, he knows. He knows. Something he mentioned about how, like, it's one thing to deal with, Present Mike and his cockiness, wit, right, you know, his bright, you know, stuff, and then dealing with the quiet barista who's, you know, loud, quiet, soft. And it kind of reminded me about the different, quote-unquote, forms of sun, Hizashi Yamada is. I like to think of it as Present Mike is a ray of, like, it's like just sunshine. Just sun, bright sunlight, right? And I like to think of Hizashi Yamada, you know, himself, you know, without the over dramatized persona, is like rays of sunlight drifting, like seeping through leaves. I'm gonna try to put up two pictures. Like in the left is just the sunshine, Present Mike, and in the right is, you know, not Present Mike, Hizashi Yamada. Because I feel like that is something that I always like to think of. Like when somebody says, oh, that's a sunshine character. Okay, sunshine character, sun character, right? Are they a harsh sun on a beach? Are they a soft sun ray going through leaves? Like what type of sun is this character? What type of sunlight is this character? Is he a sunbeam? Are they a sunlight? Are they a sun ray? What are they? You gotta tell me. Are they the light sunlight going through curtains? Like what is he? What is it? There's so much a sunshine character. Also that poem. I'm sorry, that poem was so sweet, guys. That poem did not need to. Oh my god. I wish to have a coffee shop AU. A coffee shop AU love. Is that too much to ask? Is that too much to ask to have a coffee shop AU love? Like, I'm sorry. I want the sweetness. I want the whole you get a cup and it's like, you know, cute little poem. I want what they have. I am craving. Anyways. I think this was so sweet. This was so cute. I really want them to get together. I think I don't stand alone in this when I say I want them to get together. I want a little kiss. Can we get a kiss scene? I want a kiss scene. We're like halfway, so technically speaking, it would still be considered slow burn. So like, can we get a little smoochy smooch? Please and thank you. Smoochy smooch, please. I am begging. Okay. As always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my socials and Discord server are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.